Hello, brothers and sisters. I hope I'm still in the camera. Once I do the screen capture, I can't see it very well. So, I wanted to show y'all, and this is for Glenn as well because he said he liked the screen capture video. So, let me see if I can zoom in just a little bit here. Hopefully, I can. Let me see. So, zoom. And I gotta press go on my time because I'll run out of time really quick. So whenever the scripture says here, and this is the purpose of a word studies carry us through the entire Bible. Now, Nachash in the Septuagint is actually ophis. So if we click down on that and expand it, we're in blueletterbible.org, by the way. So if you go to Nachash here and you click on it, it's going to show you everywhere in Scripture where Nachash is mentioned. Now, interestingly, the sin of the Bible is wanting to be like God. And Adam was the antediluvian, which means before the flood, type of the man of sin. And Nimrod is the man after the flood, who's the type of the man of sin. And we find people want vain glory. They want to be the mighty men, the heroes, the important people. So Nachash is actually the name of the king, and we'll find that mentioned a lot in Scripture, all over Scripture. But I'm looking for first. I went way too far. I'm looking for 1 Samuel chapter 12, and I keep passing it, of course. So I don't know why that's not appearing, because it ought to, because it's the same exact word. So I actually had it opened already here. So if I go to 1 Samuel chapter 12, they wanted in verse 12:12, yes, that's right. 1 Samuel 12:12, they have it listed as 5176, but it's exactly the same as 5175. And why would that be? Well, the serpent doesn't try to look evil like, "Wah, ha, 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 oh, fall before me and worship me." No, the serpent's like, "Hello, I'm so glad to have you here to become a part of my church and to sit through my liturgy." And we've talked about these man-made rituals people have. But this word Nachash right here is exactly the same. And what is all of this referencing to in 1 Samuel 12? How wicked it was that they asked for a man king when Yahweh is their king, right? So it says it right here. It says they wanted a king in 1 Samuel 12:12 if you read it. So in 17, 1 Samuel 12, verse 17, he says, "Is it not wheat harvest today? I will call unto Yahweh, the God of the Bible, and he shall send thunder and rain." And he's not just the God in a book, he's the God in our reality. Like this reality we're living in, and we have this body and everything. He created all that. That's what Genesis 1 is kind of about, right? I mean, you'd think people would recognize these things. And I know I had a time when I didn't recognize them, but you're supposed to be living the Scripture. We don't just come together and read the Bible every time we come together. You know, we actually live the Bible. That's an important distinction. You have to live the Bible. We don't just come together and always have to go back to the Bible to say, okay, well, we're living the Bible and we have to read the Bible to live the Bible. No, we live the Bible. Now, is studying Scripture important? Absolutely. Because of things like right here, when Samuel says, "I will call unto Yahweh, and he shall send thunder and rain, that you may perceive and see that your wickedness is great, which ye have done in the sight of Yahweh, in asking you a king." Now, in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, we have a warning from Paul that they want to look like Jesus. They don't try to look evil. They look, it says in verse 12, 2 Corinthians 11, verse 12, it says, "That wherein they glory, they may be found even as we." People who are lifted up on a pedestal. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works, being lifted up on a pedestal. That's what he says in verse 12. He's cutting off this occasion that they want to be lifted up. No one in the scriptures who are speaking in a good way tried to be lifted up. Now, evil men did. Cain, Nimrod, Adam, Balaam, Korah, all of these men who wanted glory. Abimelech, he tried to lift himself up, and they tried to put Gideon up as a king, and he said, I won't be king. Yahweh's your king. And in Hosea chapter 13, he says, I am your king. So I don't have a lot of time with these little screen captures because I haven't bought the program that I use. So I'm using Microsoft Expression Pro, by the way, and they only let you do 10 minutes on the free program. So in Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, it says, and the great dragon, the purros dracon, purros means fiery, was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. And he's the one who transforms himself as a minister of light. And that's why they have a Jesus they try to sell and they divine for money. Like, we can conjure up Jesus if you just accept him. We control him because we're the follow-on apostles and we can magically use this power to bring forth the Spirit. And what? I mean, God isn't limited to a sacred ground. So we see here in the beginning of this, it calls it the red dragon, which is the fiery dragon. And that's why we see him mentioned as a fiery serpent. And he tries to imitate Jesus, imitate Christ. Just as when it says that in Numbers 21:8, it says, make thee a fiery serpent. And if we look at that word, it actually, serpent isn't in the text. It says, make thee a fiery, and it's a seraph. And we find that same word seraphim in the plural mentioned in Isaiah chapter 6. So in Isaiah chapter 6, it's seraphim. So that is the same fiery serpents, and that's why Satan is a fiery serpent. He also wants to imitate Jesus, who in John chapter 3, it says, as Moses lifted up a serpent on the pole, so must the Son of Man be lifted up. And this is the word ophis. Well, if you look in the Septuagint, when Satan came to Adam and Eve, he says, in the Septuagint, it says ophis. Now, if we drop this down right here, we'll find that it's ophis. And then Revelations, where it says that old serpent, that's the word ophis. See, because the only way you can deceive someone is by looking at the right thing. I mean, you can't take in monopoly money and buy a hamburger at McDonald's, but if you craft a dollar bill that looks exactly like a real dollar bill, you can go in and buy a burger from McDonald's. But that's what a counterfeit is. A good counterfeit has to look like the real thing. So the seraph and the seraphim are also thought to be connected to the cherub and the cherubim, and that's already plural, so you don't have to put an S on the end of it. It's a seraphim, just like a cherubim, and this idea of these fiery serpents that we see through Scripture, and we know it is because Moses, in obedience to what God said, created a brazen serpent, which is a fiery serpent, and you'll find those word lineups are connected because brass looks fiery. So I'm out of time, and I hope that you found this video beneficial. And the idea we're conveying is that these men gainsay, they want to argue, and they want vainglory. They want to be lifted up on a pedestal. They want to be like the Most High God. They want to be in his place, not some sinister, oh, ha, ha, I'm Satan, everyone bow to me. No one would be deceived by that, but Christians of Christianity are not the same as the churchians of church.